Welcome back for another Tider Insider post-practice update. I'm Brandon Kamerman with Rodney Orr of TiderInsider.com. We're going to talk a little bit about the third practice of the fall. Obviously, it was fan day on Saturday, a good chance for the fans to see the team. But now this is our third chance to see the team. So 3 practices in, now we're starting to get a little bit of a chance to kind of see these guys on a regular basis. What have you noticed so far?
Well, first of all, they were in shorts and shoulder pads today and helmets, so they're getting closer to full pads. We know that. It won't be long before they'll have some contact, so that'll be really interesting once they get into full pads. But where we are right now, it's really the same thing, Brandon. I think when you look at this team, look at the guys that we see out there, it's pretty much what we've seen over the past, 10 years? When you talk about the athleticism, the size, the quality of athletes out there is really extremely high. Now, the one thing that jumps out at me, like when I watched on Sunday, or rather Saturday at the fan day, was so much youth on that defensive side of the ball. You're talking about a lot of young players at linebacker, though they do have some returning guys, no question. But you look at the secondary, you're replacing 6 guys that contributed significantly over the last several years, a lot of extraordinarily talented players. Now, a lot of gifted young players in that secondary right now. The thing is, not a lot of experience. You look on the defensive line, I think that they've got a chance to be really good up front. We've talked about Isaiah Buggs, Quinnen Williams, obviously Raekwon Davis. Those guys are top-level players. But, again, I think it's going to take a while to kind of get it all together. But I think once they do, they certainly have a lot of young talent that can get it done.
One guy you brought up in the first time we did this on Friday, which was the first practice of fall camp, was Kamerman Rodney, the young linebacker. Mm-hmm. And a guy maybe some people are overlooking a little bit just because, he's right there with the Abiyanoma, who's maybe a higher profile recruit. Right. But you've liked what you've seen so far.
Yeah, I watched him today, in fact, Brandon, in coverage, working on some coverage drills. And the way at 6'4", 6'5", 250 pounds, he can backpedal, turn, run, make plays, catching the ball, intercepting the ball. I thought Anoma was pretty much the same way watching him in coverage, Jerez Parks. So I think those are really some talented outside linebacker types that, could certainly possibly earn some playing time this year, especially with the situation with Terrell Lewis. So, I think that's really promising. We've talked about Chris Allen, the rising sophomore. Might as well make note that not only is he working outside, but he's also working some at inside for depth purposes. Christian Miller, who's been around now his 5th year, been an outside backer, working at that Sam spot. Also, as we said on TiderInsider.com during the summer, look for him to get some work inside, and he is getting work inside. And on the defensive line, Brandon, I think some younger players that have, because you need depth, and some young guys that have really kind of physically started catching my attention are Fedarian Mathis, redshirt freshman, and also Stephon Wynn, who will be a true freshman, went through spring practice. But you can see the physical development in both of those guys. They're not there yet in terms of the physical development, but they are a lot better than they were. So when you start projecting down the road, maybe middle of the season, I think those 2 guys might be able to really add some quality depth.
We can't ignore the elephant in the room, and those aren't my words. Those are the words of Jalen Hurts, of course. The quarterback situation, obviously, I don't know if it's a wrench that was thrown in on Saturday, but unexpected, were Jalen Hurts' comments. So now he's had 2 practices since making those comments, and it's been all over the place, national news, obviously, locally. To me, I watched the quarterbacks today, and it just seemed business as usual. I think that's a credit to the way this program is run, that I don't know if you want to call that a distraction or whatever you want to call what happened on Saturday, and yet they're just moving through practice as normal.
Yeah, well, I think the main thing is Nick Saban. This thing, it's not going to be played out on the practice field in terms of all the commotion on the outside and the comments and all of those things. Nick Saban's not going to allow this to infiltrate the team, how they practice, how they prepare, and all of those types of things. Again, do I personally think it's a distraction of sorts? Yeah, certainly it is. I mean, whether Jalen intended for it to be or not, I'm not really sure that his comments in terms of what Nick Saban ordered before the practice started, when he said, hey, we don't want to draw attention to self. And I think his comments certainly did a lot to draw attention to self. Now, again, that's the way I perceive it. Not sure how Nick Saban does.
All right, well, we'll obviously keep an eye on it, as will everybody else in Tider Insider Nation throughout fall camp. That's our third Tider Insider post-practice update. We'll be doing this each and every day. You can catch it on WVUA23.com or TiderInsider.com. For Rodney Orr, I'm Brandon Kamerman. Thanks for watching.